We're live from New Delhi. You're watching DD India Live, India's voice to the world. I'm Lipakshi Khurana, coming up in the next 30 minutes. Israel's army chief vows to hit back Iran if it retaliates. US expresses concerns over the situation in northern Gaza. US presidential election race enters last leg. Trump and Harris trade bitter attacks. EU increases tariffs on Chinese EVs to 45.3% with effect from Thursday. China calls the step protectionist and arbitrary. And India's Minister of Commerce and Industry Piyush Goyal visits Saudi Arabia to enhance economic ties and participate in the 8th Future Investment Initiative. And in sports, Indian women team defeats New Zealand by 6 wickets in third one-day cricket match in Ahmedabad to clinch series 2-1. First up, updates from West Asia. Israel's military chief has warned Iran to stand down from any retaliation for Israel's airstrikes near Tehran last week, which followed an Iranian missile barrage on October 1st.
If Iran makes the mistake of launching another missile barrage at Israel, we will once again know how to reach Iran with capabilities that we did not even use this time, and strike very, very hard at both their capabilities and locations that we set aside for now.
Well, the United States is deeply concerned by the loss of life in an Israeli attack on a residential building in northern Gaza. Israel launched its campaign against Hamas after the Palestinian terrorist group led attacks on Israel on October 7, 2023, in which 1,200 people were killed and around 250 taken hostage to Gaza. U.S. State Department spokesperson Matthew Miller said U.S. officials had reached out to the government of Israel to ask what happened, adding he could not speak to the total death toll.
We are deeply concerned by the loss of civilian life in this incident. We have reached out to the government of Israel to ask what happened here, and Israel has decimated Hamas's military capabilities. And all of that, getting to here, came at great cost to civilians in Gaza, which is, of course, often the case when civilians are caught in the crossfire in conflict. And it is another reminder of why we need to see an end to this war.
Well, the United States has rejected any Israeli efforts to starve Palestinians in Jabalia or anywhere else in the Gaza Strip. The United States told its ally Israel in a letter on October 13th that it must take steps within 30 days to improve the humanitarian situation in Gaza or face potential restrictions on U.S. military aid. U.S. Ambassador to the United Nations Linda Thomas-Greenfield said on Tuesday, Israel's words must be matched by action on the ground.
At the same time, the United States has made clear to Prime Minister Netanyahu that 1 year into this conflict, Israel must address the catastrophic humanitarian crisis in Gaza. That the United States rejects any Israeli efforts to starve Palestinians in Jabalia or anywhere else, and that Israel's words must be matched by action on the ground.
Well, updates in another conflict. Russia on Tuesday said its forces had seized control of the town of Selidov in eastern Ukraine and had been under sustained attack over the last week. Russian Defense Minister Andrei Belousov also congratulated Russia's 114th Motorized Rifle Brigade on taking Hernik. Ukraine's military did not comment directly on the Russian claims but reported 31 combat clashes on the Pokrovsk front during the past 24 hours, including near Selidov. Ukraine's deep state open source intelligence map showed part of Selidov is under the Russian control, with about a third as a grey zone. And President Vladimir Putin kicked off the training exercise on Tuesday at a critical point in the Ukraine conflict. Russia's defense minister Andriy Belousov said that the exercise is aimed to stimulate a massive nuclear strike in response to a first strike by an enemy. The Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov said that the drill was a regular, planned event involving the launch of ballistic and cruise missiles. Defense Ministry further added that as part of the exercise, a Yars intercontinental ballistic missile was launched from the Plister Cosmodrome in northwest Russia to the Kura test range in Kamchatka in the Far East.
Добрый день.
We are conducting another exercise of strategic deterrence forces. We will work out the actions of officials in controlling the use of nuclear weapons with practical launches of ballistic and cruise missiles. I would like to stress out that we are not going to be involved in a new arms race, but we will maintain nuclear forces at the level of necessary sufficiency.
While U.S. President Joe Biden has expressed concerns about the presence of North Korean troops in Russia, saying that Ukraine should strike back if the troops crossed into the country.
Mr. President, are you worried about the North Korean troops in Kursk, in Russia?
I am concerned about it, yes.
Should the Ukrainians strike back?
If they cross into Ukraine, yes.
While Pentagon spokesperson Matt Ryder said that a relatively small number of these troops were already present in the Kursk region.
We are concerned that they do intend to employ these forces in combat against the Ukrainians, or at least support combat operations against the Ukrainians in the Kursk region. So as of right now, it remains to be seen exactly how the Russians and the North Koreans will employ these forces. But as it relates to the use of weapons, first of all, I would highlight that the weapons and capabilities that the United States and other international partners have provided to Ukraine are Ukrainian weapons and Ukrainian capabilities. And we've been very clear that Ukraine is able to employ those capabilities to defend their sovereign territory from threats that are either emanating from across the border or inside Ukrainian territory.
And on to the U.S. presidential elections now, with a race neck and neck. Both Kamala Harris and Donald Trump are ramping up their campaigns in the final days. Kamala Harris cast the U.S. election as a choice between freedom and chaos in a final big pitch to voters in Washington, D.C. Addressing a crowd of thousands, Harris says it's time to turn the page on the drama and the conflict.
Thank you, everyone. So listen, 1 week from today, you will have the chance to make a decision that directly impacts your life, the life of your family, and the future of this country we love. And it will probably be the most important vote you ever cast. And this election is more than just a choice between two parties and two different candidates. It is a choice about whether we have a country rooted in freedom for every American, or ruled by chaos and division.
Well, earlier, Donald Trump defended his New York rally as a love fest, despite criticism sparked by comedian Tony Hinchcliffe calling the U.S. territory of Puerto Rico a floating island of garbage. Despite a firestorm of outrage on social media from Democrats, as well as some leading Republicans, Trump made no apology for the racist comments. Instead, he brushed off the critics who compared it to a 1939 Nazi event at the arena.
The love in that room, it was breathtaking, and you could have filled it many, many times with the people that were unable to get in. But politicians that have been doing this for a long time, 30 and 40 years, said there's never been an event so beautiful. It was like a love fest, an absolute love fest, and it was my honor to be involved. And hopefully, you know, they started to say, well, in 1939, the Nazis used Madison Square Garden. Well, and you know what? But can you imagine it? In 1939, the Nazis, they would. But how terrible to say, right? Because, you know, they've used Madison Square Garden many times. Many people have used it, but nobody's ever had a crowd like that. And I tell you what, right now, nobody's ever had love like that. That was love in the room, and it was love for our country.
While U.S. President Joe Biden has announced a $3 billion investment to upgrade ports across the U.S., including Baltimore, where a bridge collapse killed 6 construction workers in March. During a visit to the city's main port, Biden announced the federal funding will improve and electrify port infrastructure sites nationwide while supporting an estimated 40,000 union jobs.
That's why today I'm proud to announce we're delivering $3 billion in funding from my Inflation Reduction Act to help clean up and modernize ports in 27 different states and territories, from Pennsylvania, Georgia, Michigan, and beyond, including, yes, Puerto Rico.
Well, earlier, President Biden joined hundreds of young voters in his home state of Delaware to cast his early ballot. He expressed his pride in supporting Vice President Kamala Harris and other Democratic candidates, emphasizing the importance of participating in this pivotal election. And U.S. federal authorities are investigating fires set at 2 ballot drop boxes in Portland, Oregon and nearby Vancouver, Washington. In Portland, an incendiary device damaged a ballot box, though most ballots were preserved. In Vancouver, a ballot box near a bus station was also set on fire, impacting hundreds of ballots. Washington Secretary of State condemned these attacks, affirming election security, and said both local and federal law enforcement are involved. With just 1 week to go until the U.S. election, hundreds of thousands of ballots are flooding into ballot processing centers around the country as millions of Americans cast their votes early. Well, as Americans gear up to vote in the U.S. presidential elections on November 5th, opinion polls and surveys reflect that Donald Trump and Kamala Harris are locked in a tight race. Their campaigns thus are focused more on the electorally important swing states. DD India correspondent Amritpal Singh reports from Pennsylvania, which is one of the key 7 swing states in this election.
With just days left for the November 5th election, both Kamala Harris and Donald Trump are neck and neck in most of the swing states, especially in Pennsylvania, where I am right now. It holds 19 of the Electoral College votes, and that's why you see both candidates focusing their energies on this state. It can't get closer in the Penn state as state swings. In 2016, Donald Trump took it from Hillary Clinton by just a 0.7 percentage difference. Biden snatched it from Trump in 2020, but by a margin of 1.2 percentage points. This time around, both candidates are neck and neck. The difference is just 0.5 percentage points. November 5th will decide how Pennsylvania votes. Once it was reliably Democratic, but not anymore. It swings every election. So Pennsylvania is important, followed, of course, by Georgia and North Carolina, which hold, and Michigan, they hold most seats. Nevada, Arizona, they are smaller states, but all the swing states are important for both candidates because this election's outcome will be decided by these swing states because the other ones remain or continue to remain blue and red as they were in the last election and the election before that. With cameraman Sanjay Jaina, this is Amritpal Singh in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania.
And still to come in this edition of DD India Live. Prime Minister Modi to visit Indian western state of Gujarat to lay the foundation stone of various infrastructural and development projects. And we'll show you Diwali celebrations around the world, uniting communities in joy and tradition. Welcome back. You're watching DD India Live. I'm Lipakshi Khurana, and moving on, Prime Minister Narendra Modi to be on a two-day visit to the Indian western state of Gujarat. The Prime Minister will inaugurate and lay the foundation stone of various infrastructural and development projects worth over 280 crore rupees in Ekta Nagar. These projects aim to enhance the tourist experience, improve accessibility and support sustainability initiatives in the area. PM Modi will also address the officer trainees of the 99th Common Foundation course in Arambh 6.0. On Thursday, Prime Minister will participate in Rashtriya Ekta Divas celebrations and will offer floral tributes at the Statue of Unity. And India's Commerce and Industry Minister Piyush Goyal is visiting Saudi Arabia to explore new avenues of economic cooperation. During the visit, Minister Goyal will also participate in the 8th edition of the Future Investment Initiative in Riyadh. The minister will hold bilateral meetings with key Saudi ministers to discuss collaborative efforts in energy transition, digital transformation and trade facilitation. He will co-chair the second ministerial meeting of the Economy and Investment Committee under the India-Saudi Strategic Partnership Council, focusing on sectors like agriculture, food security, energy, technology and infrastructure. The minister will also unveil the One District, One Product wall at the Indian Embassy. And now let's take a look at other stories making news today. Tobacco-free youth campaign organized in Srinagar to raise awareness and engage youth in the fight against tobacco use. The event aimed to educate young people about the dangers of tobacco and other nicotine products. Participants were invited to pledge their commitment to living tobacco-free and promoting awareness in their communities. A new jungle safari was inaugurated in Dwarka, Gujarat. This safari aims to offer visitors a unique and immersive experience of the rich biodiversity within the Barda Wildlife Sanctuary. Known for its vibrant greenery, Barda Hills has become a popular spot for wildlife enthusiasts, ecotourists and nature lovers. We're on to some business news now. Apple iPhone exports from India jumped by a third in the 6 months through September, underscoring its push to expand manufacturing in the country and reduce dependence on China. As per a media report, the US-based company exported nearly $6 billion of India-made iPhones, an increase of a third in value terms from a year earlier. That puts annual exports on track to surpass about $10 billion of fiscal 2024. Apple is expanding its manufacturing network in India at a rapid clip, taking advantage of local subsidies, a skilled workforce and advances in the country's technological capabilities. While the EU on Tuesday imposed hefty extra tariffs up to 35.3% on Chinese-made electric cars after an anti-subsidy probe concluded Beijing's support undercut European auto markets. The EU has set out extra tariffs ranging from 7.8% for Tesla, while 35.3% for China's SAIC. That too on top of the EU's standard 10% car import duty, making it over 45% for China. The Commission has said tariffs are required to counter what it says are unfair subsidies, including preferential financing and grants, as well as land, batteries and raw material at below market prices. It says China's spare production capacity of 3 million EVs per year is twice the size of the EU market. Given 100% tariffs in the United States and Canada, the most obvious outlet for those EVs is Europe. The China Chamber of Commerce to the EU said it was profoundly disappointed by the protectionist and arbitrary EU measure. Beijing launched its own probe this year into imports of EU brandy, dairy and pork products in apparent retaliation. It has also challenged the EU's provisional measures at the World Trade Organization. And on to some sports news now. India clinched the 3-match one-day series against New Zealand by beating the Kiwis by 6 wickets in final ODI in Ahmedabad. Powered by Smriti Mandhana's sensational ton of 122 balls and skipper Harmanpreet Kaur's 70-run knock, India successfully chased down 233 runs target in 44.3 overs. Mandhana, who hit his 8th ODI century, also made history, going past Mithil Raj's tally of most hundreds by an Indian women's batter in ODIs. After opting to bat first, the White Ferns were bowled out for 232 in 49.5 overs. With this win, host managed to claim the series 2-1, a result that could act as a positive after India's group stage T20 World Cup 2024 exit. And India's Malvika Bansod cruised into the second round of Hilo Open badminton tournament in Saar, Bracken city of Germany. Bansod was pitted against Bulgaria's Ritsomira Popovska in the opening round of the women's single event. She eased past her opponent by 21-6, 21-17 score line. Bansod will face Denmark's Irina Emily Andersen in the round of 16. Rakshita Sri Santosh Ramraj also moved into the second round after defeating Chinese Taipei's Yu Chen-hui 21-13, 21-19. And preparations of Deepotsav in Ayodhya are nearing completion, with plans to light up the city with lakhs of earthen lamps on Diwali. For Deep Mahotsav in Ayodhya, the birthplace of Lord Ram, gets lit up with dazzling display of diyas every year, marking the return of Lord Ram to Ayodhya after his exile and victory over Ravan. The banks of the Saryu River gets adorned with intricate rangoli designs and vibrant decorations, creating a mesmerizing sight for the onlookers and gathering devotees and tourists from across the country. Well, Dubai is also gearing up for Diwali with grand celebrations planned across various venues. Global Village, one of Dubai's premier cultural destinations, has already begun transforming its grounds for the festival. Skilled artisans are crafting a spectacular 5-8-meter Rangoli installation in front of the main stage. In anticipation of festive shoppers, the venue has established a dedicated Festival of Lights market. Meanwhile, the historic AI Seef district has come alive with a new Festival of Lights. A rich cultural program featuring folk music, poetry recitals and dance performances drew hundreds from the Indian community. Students at various Indian curriculum schools will enjoy the 4-day weekend, with some receiving 5 days off for Diwali celebrations. These preparations reflect the Emirates' commitment to embracing diverse cultural celebrations, especially for the 3.5 million strong Indian expatriate community. Well, Diwali is now celebrated around the world, uniting communities in joy and tradition. Here's a look at how Diwali lights up across the globe. Nancy Baloda brings us more on this.
Diwali spirit has travelled worldwide with celebrations that embrace local culture. Thousands gathered in London's Trafalgar Square to celebrate Diwali, with organisers estimating around 10,000 participants, including members of the UK's Asian community, tourists and local residents. In Nepal, known as Tihar, Diwali celebrates the bond between humans and animals with rituals dedicated to dogs, cows and other animals. In Sri Lanka, Diwali mirrors Indian celebrations with families lighting lamps, setting off fireworks and sharing sweets in honor of Lord Ram's victory. In Malaysia, Hari Diwali is a public holiday that begins with an oil bath followed by temple prayers and gatherings to enjoy traditional foods. Singapore's Diwali transforms Serangoon Road with festive lights. Indian bazaars and food stalls create a vibrant memory for locals and tourists alike. In the United States, Times Square hosts an annual Diwali event featuring performances, food stalls, fireworks, while schools and workplaces increasingly recognize the festival. In South Africa, Diwali's spirit shines with oil lamps, fireworks and shared meals. From Nepal to New York, Diwali's themes of light, unity and celebration have taken root globally, reflecting a tradition that brings communities together in every corner of the world. Nancy Baloda's report for DD India.
All right, that's all for this edition of DD India Live, but let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. For those on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates from India and across the world on the DD India mobile app. The app is available on both Android and iOS platforms. Scan the QR code on the screen to download now. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Lipakshi Khurana from all of us here in Delhi. Thanks for watching DD India Live.